Star Trek, Primitive Passenger, Season 2, Episode 1, Earth, The Final Frontier. Nolan Mercer stood on the bridge of the Lost as it blinked to the coordinates near Earth Station. The moment the ship re-entered normal space, Earth appeared on the view screen, a dazzling blue orb surrounded by a bustle of starships. Nolan's breath caught in his throat as he stared, memories flooding back. Alara's voice broke the silence. "We're receiving automated messages, Nolan. Open comms to 197 and submit action codes. They want us to submit our documents for station access." Nolan's eyes flicked to Earth Station, the colossal hub managing the traffic in and out of Earth's orbit. Forget the station. Zoom in on Red Oak, Oklahoma. The view screen shifted to a lush, green landscape. "Got it," Nolan muttered, manipulating the console to follow a winding road until he reached the top of a familiar hill. "Drop me down there." "Nolan, we need clearance from the station. We don't have approval to access the planet." Alara's concern was palpable, but Nolan ignored her, tapping his comm badge and vanishing in a shimmer of light. Nolan materialized in a small clearing, surrounded by the wild woods of Oklahoma. The humid air hit him like a wave, thick and fragrant with earth and vegetation. Overwhelmed, he fell to his knees, sobbing uncontrollably as he inhaled the scent of home. The sky above, an endless expanse of blue, blurred through his tear-soaked eyes. When he was alive, before the Encanite transformed him, this land was his sanctuary, a retreat from the chaos of daily life. Now, the reality of being back was almost too much. He felt the familiar textures of the plants, watched a mosquito land on his hand, and marveled at its simple, real existence. 300 years later, Nolan Mercer was home, and in just a few months he would turn 300. Tapping his comm badge, he asked, "Alara, can you generate some camping gear and drop it here?" The idea of spending the night under the stars, maybe catching a rabbit or going fishing, filled him with a childlike excitement. Alara's response was garbled. "Prepare for, they're coming. Jump out," static followed, and Nolan's attempts to beam back to the Lost failed. "Stay where you are." The command came from behind him. Nolan spun around to face half a dozen red-shirted Starfleet security officers, their phasers trained on him. "Show me your hands," another barked. Nolan raised his hands slowly, his mind racing. "What do you want? You're not authorized for Earth access. You're in a curated preserve without pre-approval, and you have multiple violations with your ship. We can start with those charges unless you want to add resisting arrest. Look, I just got here. This used to be my home." Nolan's plea fell on deaf ears. "Nobody's lived here since before the eugenics wars. Unless you're 150 years old, you need a better story." The officer smirked. "You're coming with us." "I'm not going anywhere with you." The lead officer fired his phaser. Nolan crumpled to the ground as the officers chuckled, lifting him by his arms and dragging him away from the trees. "I'm not going anywhere," one of the security officers said in a goofy voice. All the red shirts joined in the laughter as they beamed out. Nolan woke in a standard Starfleet holding cell, a simple bench bed, an archway with a shimmering force field separating him from the security office. He lay still, listening to the officers' conversation outside. So he just helps himself to the preserve? What made him think that was okay? "We're still trying to find identification, sir." "Nothing on him but tattoos. He's human, apparently." "Yeah, I'm human." Nolan sat up, his voice laced with sarcasm. "What's with the kidnapping and imprisonment? Not quite the homecoming I was hoping for." "Sleeping Beauty awakes," said the chief security officer in a thick Eastern European accent. "Welcome to Earth Station Security. We have a lot of questions for you. What do you want?" "Lucky for you, that's above my pay grade. I'm just supposed to hold you until Starfleet sends someone more important over. You've pissed off some big shots." "Where's my ship?" Probably impounded at McKinley, being dissected bolt-by-bolt. Anything in there Starfleet might find objectionable? The officer's raised eyebrows added weight to his question. Why didn't you just submit your docking clearance? It's busy space up here. As far as I know, I don't have clearances anymore. Am I getting a parking ticket? Oh, you're getting something, all right. I haven't seen the higher-ups this rattled in a while. Nolan worried about Alara and whether she could keep the blink drive hidden. He realized he'd been reckless, leaving her alone on the Lost. He muttered, Alara. The Lost, clamped into the docks at McKinley shipyards, was completely dark. Nolan was fed, and the taste of Earth food was a revelation. Earth flavors, he said aloud, savoring each bite. He had tried for decades to replicate these flavors, modifying designs endlessly, but nothing ever matched the real thing. Most people can't even eat that slop. You must be starving. An officer with 4 pips stood watching him. I guess you're the one I'm waiting for? Nolan asked through a mouthful of food. Can I get more of this? Why don't we start with your name? I'm Captain Sterling with Starfleet Command. I oversee alien vessels within the command area around Earth Station. You can't be here. I'm Nolan Mercer. Nolan John Mercer, born at the Choctaw Health Center in Oklahoma, December 34, 1964. He waited for a reaction. I was a United States Marine from 83 through 89, graduated University of Phoenix in 86. 1986, Sterling repeated. Look me up. I'm real. Nolan leaned back on his bunk. Never met a 300-year-old man before. Come on. He grinned wryly. His face went deadpan serious. Oh, where's my ship? Your ship has been seized and is undergoing a thorough search at McKinley. We've never seen its design or configuration before. It's nothing special. I picked it up almost 60 years ago in what you call the Delta Quadrant. It's called the Lost. I don't know who originally built it or how old it is, but it's never let me down. Yes, we've heard bits of your story from Captain Pike's reports. Of course, most of what's come from the Enterprise is redacted. Sterling dragged the chair in front of Nolan's cell and straddled it, arms folded on the backrest. Our concern is your propulsion systems. He tilted his head. Your sudden appearance so close to Earth, eluding all our sensors. Then the quick beam down. Some of my more alarmist colleagues thought we might be under attack. Mercer grunted. Anything you want to tell me before we move you to a more secure facility? The Engineering Council is picking a team to dismantle your propulsion systems. So far, they're shielded. We can't even get a scan. Mercer knew being moved to a more secure facilities was code for where we can interrogate you more vigorously without prying eyes. Can I get more of this? Nolan asked, holding out his tray. In a Starfleet med lab, Sterling and 2 medical personnel review scans of Mercer. His DNA is undoubtedly human, but there are some red flags, the doctor says, tapping a few keys to change the screen. This was Alzheimer's, an illness eliminated after the wars. No living human has these markers. Also, another doctor points out, pulling up a different view, he has no telomere degradation. We estimate his age to be 40, but there should be some degradation. He's as pristine as a fresh clone. So he's a clone of a human, the captain retorts, ready to settle on that as his answer. Not exactly, says the doctor. There are no triggers indicating cloning from a specific age, and there are no future triggers. Sterling looks at her with a raised eyebrow. He won't get old, the doctor blurts out. His aging triggers have been removed. He's forever 40. So is he human, or isn't he? Yes, says the woman with a questioning tone. Sterling visibly keeps himself from rolling his eyes. He has no markers indicating cloning, yet his DNA is so clean it doesn't seem he was born in a normal human setting. The woman continues. He says he's 300 years old. When I asked how he managed to live so long, he said someone snatched him around 2020 and modified him, and he doesn't understand how it all works. Sterling interjects. He says he spent about 60 years finding his way to Earth, and he doesn't think he's aged in that time. Makes sense, actually. We've had him under Detmer scan the entire time he's been here, and there's no indication of deception. But his genetic modifications could throw off the scanner. Sterling, a group of high-ranking Starfleet officers, and one of the doctors sit in a conference room. So he's a clone sent to infiltrate us. That doesn't seem likely, says an admiral. He might as well have been jumping up and down and waving a flag the way he barged in and got everyone's attention. That doesn't sound like a secret clone invasion to me. Capt. Sterling leans forward. Have we made any progress with the ship? Do we have an idea what kind of propulsion dropped him within the danger zone without triggering a single sensor? A red-shirted lieutenant replies. Nothing with the ship. We haven't been able to board yet. There doesn't appear to be an entry port anywhere, and we can't penetrate the hull with our scans. He lifts his hands with palms up. We can't transport in. Another lieutenant in a green shirt adds, we think it's something to do with folding space. But we've never encountered anyone with that level of technology, and this ship doesn't seem that advanced. From what we can tell, the ship itself is at least 100 years behind our current tech. A young woman, Lieutenant Sachs, enters with her blonde hair pulled back in a tight ponytail and one pip on her collar. Sterling gives her a go-ahead nod. I have records from 1964 that verify a Nolan John Mercer was born to John and Hannah Mercer in Oklahoma. The paper records were lost, but digital records from an Oklahoma-Texas database salvaged after the war confirm it. Spreading pads and documents in front of the Admiral and Captain Sterling, she continues, he served in the Marines in the 1980s. They were soldiers who fought from seafaring ships, like Makos. And here, she taps the pad, and an image of Nolan Mercer in his dress blues appears on the view screen. Is Corporal Nolan Mercer at a wedding in 1986. Everyone looks at the screen, some with disbelief. The man on the screen looks like a younger, thinner version of the man in detention. But I also have this, she says, showing a section of a document. Authorities who called off the search for an elderly man near Talihina, okay this evening. Nolan Mercer disappeared from his hunting cabin near Red Oak sometime during the last 2 weeks and was reported missing on Sunday by a neighbor. Mercer is considered at risk as he suffers from dementia and may have wandered off into the vast wilderness surrounding his property near Red Oak. Authorities are seeking any information on his whereabouts and well-being. We believe he had kids, but there is no direct way to track any potential lineage at this time. Sterling and the Admiral exchange looks, both at a loss for words. Nolan sleeps in a dimly lit cell. On the bridge of the Lost, a green light begins to flash. Poor, so why am I still in holding? Nolan asks, both surprised and saddened by the response to his return. Lieutenant Sachs, her blonde ponytail swaying slightly as she tilts her head, offers a sympathetic smile. Mr. Mercer, I understand your frustration. We're not keeping you in holding as a punishment. We just need to sort out a few things first. Why don't we go over your story again? It'll help us process everything more quickly. I broke some rules about parking my ship. You have my apologies. Just release me, he says with an exasperated breath. I just wanted to come home. It's been so long. Sachs nods understandingly. I can only imagine how overwhelming this must be for you. Let's start from the beginning. Your last memory of Earth was from the 2000s, right? When you were about 60 years old? Yes. I had a wife. She was Japanese. Hitomi Rai. I had 2 daughters from a first marriage and a stepdaughter with Hitomi. Our daughters were all in their 30s, and we had 3 grandsons and 2 granddaughters. I can give you their names if you like. I probably remember some of their birthdays, more or less. Sachs taps on her pad, her blue eyes warm with empathy. That sounds like a wonderful family. Now, about where we found you. In the preserve that used to be Oklahoma. Were you a citizen of Oklahoma? It didn't really work that way. I was a citizen of the United States of America, born in the state of Oklahoma. I owned that little mountain property. I had a cabin there. He pauses. You know, I wasn't going to do any damage. I just wanted to see it, feel it again. Can you understand that? Sax's expression softens. Of course I can. I just went home to Memphis last month. There's nothing like sleeping in your own bed, breathing your own air, seeing your own sunset, your own sky, feeling your ground beneath your feet. I know I don't own it anymore, but it was my home. Nolan puts his head in his hands. Sax leans forward slightly, her voice gentle. That must have been an incredibly emotional moment for you. Can you tell me what happened next? After your last memory of Earth, what do you remember? My next memory is waking up on a ship, sick, disoriented, freezing, struggling to breathe. I didn't actually know it was a ship. I had to figure everything out from scratch. I didn't know where I was, either as a point in space, or how that related to Earth, or where Earth was. I also didn't realize until a little later that so much time had passed. 12 dozecs. Nolan looks down. You realize that everything you knew, maybe even your whole planet, no longer exists, and if it does, you'll never find it. And how did you find your way back? We gathered every database from every species we encountered, and tried to find any reference that might match humans or Earth. Realize, if you had shown me a star chart at the time, I wouldn't have even recognized our own solar system. So we were grasping at straws. Looking around, obviously other races don't refer to us as human, nor our planet as Earth, so it was a long shot. Wait, you said you were alone. Who's W.E.? Oh, I just mean me and the computer interface. It had a voice interface. W.E. were alone for decades, and I guess instead of talking to myself for 50, 60 years, I talked to the computer. W.E. traveled about 60,000 light years together. Is it weird that I miss talking with my computer? Nolan tries to play down Ilara's incredible capabilities and intelligence. Just a normal ship's computer, nothing to see here. But you found some reference to Earth. Found a traveler who knew humans? In a roundabout way. I found some former Borg barely surviving on a planet. Nolan stops when he sees Sax's reaction. What? You encountered the Borg? Sax's blue eyes widen. If I encountered the Borg, I'd be a Borg now, I imagine. Sax nods for him to continue. When I found the Lost, my ship, Nolan points up, there was a captain's log entry begging for help for a group of people starving on a nearby planet. They were former Borg. I met with them, brought them food, and later helped them reestablish their colony on a more hospitable planet. That was very nice of you. Why help them? They needed help. Nolan looked up at Sax. But one of them recognized me as species 5618. It's how the Borg categorize those they assimilate. It was the first and only time I was recognized for my species as human. They turned me on to the derelict carcass of a Borg sphere. I took its data module and began tracking all instances of species 5618. Sax shakes her head, smiling. And bad. And that led you to Captain Pike's crew. After several years, yes. I found La'an on some planet. She needed a ride home. I brought her to Outpost 87. That led me to Pike, which led me here. Again, just to clarify, you woke up on a ship, but not the ship you have now. Were you on another vessel before then? Sax sits ready to tap away on her pad. Nolan takes a deep breath and lets it out. I'm exhausted. Can we get something to eat? Of course, you must be tired. Why don't we take a break and get you something to eat? We can continue this later when you're feeling more refreshed. Is there anything in particular you'd like? Nolan's eyes light up. Do y'all still eat meat around here? Sterling and Mercer walk down a sleek corridor of the starbase. Now understand, we're letting you move around the station, but don't get any ideas about going to the surface. Keep this comm badge on you at all times. We need to track your whereabouts. What about my ship?" Sterling halted and turned to face Mercer. "The good news, for you at least, is that no one has figured out how to get inside it without destroying it. The bad news, if they can't find a way inside, they probably will destroy it. Give me my comm badge back, the one your security guys took." "I can open it right up," Nolan said with a confident smile. "Your comm badge has been examined, and the only thing our people have determined is that it's much more than a comm badge. No way I can hand that kind of unknown tech back to you." "The badge works with the ship," Nolan said as he resumed walking. "No badge, no ship." They continued down the corridor as Sachs approached from behind. "Now, I hear I can get a steak up here somewhere." Sterling visibly shuddered. "Ugh, how can you eat other animals?" "I got him, Captain. I know just the place." Sachs grabbed Mercer by the arm and pulled him down the hallway. Sterling turned back, visibly shaken. Primitive. Mercer sat at a table, 2 empty plates in front of him, carving into a pork chop. "Oh my God," he mumbled through a mouthful. "I can't stop. Steak, eggs, chicken. Oh my God, it's so good. Have you tried these pork chops?" Sachs, initially smiling, broke into full laughter. "You certainly eat like a man who hasn't had a good meal in 300 years. I've never seen anyone tuck into food like that before or eat that much meat," she said with a hearty laugh. Mercer and Sachs strolled down the corridor, Mercer using a piece of plastic as a makeshift toothpick. "Do you prefer I call you Nolan?" "Sure, yeah. Hell, call me Johnny. Everyone did when I was alive." "I don't even know your first name, Sachs." Sachs made a face. "You said that once before. I really don't like it when you say it that way." "What?" "When you say, when I was alive. It's so. I don't know. You're alive and well, here and now. It was when I was still Johnny Mercer, the old jarhead. What am I now? I'd been put through a blender, and my own people don't know if I'm still human. I'm not allowed to step foot on my own planet. I spent 6 decades forsaking everything but my pursuit to find home. I spent maybe 5 minutes on my planet. Now what? Look, we'll get you back. Once they get over their security jitters, I'm sure you'll get a chance to go down to the surface again. There are a lot of things I'd love to show you. Angela, by the way." She grinned and ran ahead into a turbo lift. Nolan watched her soft blonde ponytail swish as she moved, stopping in his tracks. Loneliness had broken him long ago, but he hadn't realized how badly. She spun around in the turbolift to hold the door, still with a big smile and dazzling blue eyes. He was mesmerized. "Come on," Angela called. Nolan tightened up, went stoic, and followed her in. To Statins. The next morning, Sachs spotted a group of men in gray and black Starfleet uniforms. "No way," she whispered, and followed them down the corridor, making sure to stay out of sight. As she rounded a couple of turns, she overheard snippets of their conversation. "If that's what it is, then we need to destroy it. Immediately. That drive system would put Starfleet ahead of the Romulans. We have to have it. And just destroy his whole ship." She froze, staring straight ahead before turning and sprinting back down the hallway. "Burst Nolan. Wake up. Olin." Sachs stood outside Nolan's cell, trying to get his attention. "You know, the original concept of whispering was to be quiet," Nolan murmured, barely opening his eyes. Get up. We've got big trouble." Sax's eyes darted around as she realized the force field was deactivated. She waved her hand through the empty space, then stepped inside. "Why are you here? There's no force field." Nolan sat up slowly, rubbing his eyes. "I didn't have any place else to sleep. What do you want?" "Spooks. They're here," she whispered urgently, leaning in. His eyes snapped open, meeting hers with sudden clarity. She mouthed the words, "Section 30 own," holding up 3 fingers, followed by 1 finger, then glancing over both shoulders. Nolan's expression hardened. "I'm awake now." He didn't know what Section 31 was, but he'd known spooks back in the day, too. "We have to go," she insisted, gripping his arm. "They're arguing over whether to take your ship from you or blow it to smithereens. Once they get their hands on it, you're done." I need to either get my comm badge or go to the Lost in person. The ship won't respond otherwise." "I know," she said, opening her hand to reveal Nolan's badge, her fingers trembling slightly. "You were going to break me out of jail?" he asked, taking the badge. It lit up in his hand and beeped. Nolan and Angela looked down at it. "Nolan?" Elara's voice came through clearly. "It's me. Where are you?" "Who's that?" Angela blurted out, eyes wide. "Clamped into a dock. I don't think my impulse thrusters can break me out." "You once told me to never blink while attached to something. What happens if you do?" "Who is that?" Angela asked again, her voice edged with panic. Nolan held up an index finger to silence her. "We're about to find out." There was a slight rumble, and klaxons began blaring in the distance. The station went to red alert. Nolan and Angela vanished in shimmering light and rematerialized on the bridge of the Lost. "Elara, what's our status? Where are we?" Nolan asked, activating his console with a swift motion. "We're hiding behind Saturn, but that's only going to last a couple more minutes. Is your friend staying, or am I sending her back?" Nolan turned to Angela, his expression intense. "Angela, will they come after you if you go back? We need to get out of Federation space now." "No, it's okay. Send me back. I wasn't scheduled to be on duty this morning. I'll get to my post for the red alert, and everything will be fine." Mercer looks into her eyes. "I wish we had more time." Sachs looks quite surprised. "Listen, if you ever need to contact me, use this subspace two-way communicator." Nolan holds out his hand, and a small device with a few buttons materializes in it. It will ping Elara almost anywhere in the galaxy. "Wait, who?" Angela Sachs, thoroughly confused. "Weller," Mercer said, and Lieutenant Angela Sachs disappeared in shimmering light. "Go," he directed Elara. The Lost blinked back inside the Havoc, still parked far away in a nebula on the edge of the Alpha Quadrant. On Earth Station, alarms blared as Sterling barked orders. "I want every sensor focused on that ship's last known coordinates. We can't let him slip away." Sachs rushed onto the bridge, her hand unconsciously touching the small device hidden in her pocket. Sterling turned to her, his eyes narrowing slightly. "Lieutenant, glad you could join us. Looks like your carnivorous friend decided to make a run for it." Sachs swallowed hard, forcing her expression to remain neutral. "Sir, I had no idea he would." Sterling waved her off. Save it. Right now we need to focus on finding him. This isn't over, not by a long shot." As Sachs took her station, she couldn't help but wonder when, or if, she'd hear from Nolan again. The weight of the communicator in her pocket felt heavy and obvious, as if everyone on the bridge knew it was there. Sterling leaned over a console, eyes scanning the readouts with laser focus. "Increase scan resolution. I don't care if we have to fry every sensor on the station. Find him," he commanded. Sax's heart pounded as she activated her console, the tension on the bridge palpable. Each beep and chirp on the bridge felt like a countdown to an uncertain fate. She glanced at the view screen, a vast expanse of stars offering no clues, only the cold, indifferent void. "Lieutenant," Sterling's voice cut through her thoughts, softer this time. "I hope for your sake you had no part in this. Trust is hard to come by in our line of work." She met his gaze, her own eyes steely. "I understand, sir. I want to find him just as much as you do." Sterling nodded curtly before turning back to the console. "All right, people, let's get to work." As the bridge buzzed with activity, Sax's fingers brushed against the communicator again, her mind racing with the possibilities. She knew Nolan was resourceful, but how long could he stay ahead of Starfleet? And more importantly, what would happen when their paths inevitably crossed again? The stars outside seemed to pulse with the rhythm of her anxiety, a silent reminder of the vastness of the galaxy and the narrow margins within which they all operated.